Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. I'm Rafai Hussaini.
And I'm Kechi Nana. Earlier in the week, operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission raided the home of former governor of Lagos State, Akinwunmi Ambode, in the Ekpe area of the state. The commission debunked the news that were making rounds that they raided the former governor's residence. Now, the EFCC spokesman, Mr. Tony Orilade, said the visit was not a raid, but an ongoing investigation, since the administration no longer constitutionally enjoys immunity against prosecution.
However, in an amateur video, a crowd of Ekpe residents had gathered in protest against the action of the EFCC operatives as seen in the home of the ex-governor. Some of the residents were heard threatening in Yoruba language to deal with the operatives and attempting to deflate the tires of the white van that conveyed the EFCC officials. The man had to quickly run away from the scene. Sounds of gun was fired by security escorts as they drove away in the white bus and another pickup van.
You can see what is going on now. The Ekpe people did not allow them enter the house. The Ekpe people did not allow them enter the house. I repeat, they did not allow them enter the house. They ran away. They were shooting into. Now the game is on. We will learn. They ran away. They ran away. They ran away. Ekpe people will not allow this. It will not happen. I'm very sure. They all ran away. Live at Ambode's house.
Joining us now to discuss the EFCC raid on Ambode's residence in Ekpe, Lagos State, is Executive Chairman of Center for Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership, Debo Adeniran. You're welcome.
My pleasure.
Now, let's get into it. So this EFCC search on Ambode's residence has been marred with so much controversy. First, the news broke that EFCC raided his house. They released a statement which was unclear whether they were at his residence or not. And there were allegations by the young lawyers of Ekpe saying that the EFCC planned to incriminate Ambode, and then counter-allegations from the EFCC. How do you think that we can get a corrupt allegation investigation out of muddy waters and media trials? And do you think there's a political dimension to this issue?
Thank you very much. So many questions in one. But I should give you a background to our own assessment of Ambode. When he came to government, we didn't give him any chance because we thought that he was coming from the same political background like his predecessor, who actually executes more projects on the media than on the ground. And when he was campaigning, we actually campaigned against him. But when he got to government, he started working. We moved around and we saw what he has done. We believe that we were looking at him as somebody who was working as if work was going out of fashion. He started with Light Up Lagos, then opening up all the ancillary roads to major roads and actually filling the potholes, doing all of those things. So we now took a special interest in him because we've been watching Lagos State government since the days of Fashola. Now, I believe what happened in Ekpe, as a matter of fact, the reason why he was not given a second chance, first and foremost, our conclusion was that maybe certain people didn't want Ambode to outshine them. I'm not sure that performance should be a reason why people should gang up against somebody. Because what Lagosians want was good governance. Good governance is that provide things, amenities that we serve the majority of the people. And that is what we believe that Ambode has done. He has done so many roads. If you know what Aboru used to be and what it has become now, if you knew what Ekpe used to be and what has become now, you will not be at a loss as to why Ekpe youth stood, behind that former governor. We assess every inch of what he did. Yes, we query certain things, especially the bills for all the developmental work that he executed, that we wanted to cross-check with what is going on elsewhere. But then we are satisfied that those infrastructural development actually took place, because there are certain governors who had passed through the same route who didn't do anything, yet so much money was sunk into governance. So when all of these things happened, we were not so surprised. One, because we discovered that most of the jobs Ambode awarded, he didn't give kickbacks, unlike what we discovered in previous years, where some money had been paid and the jobs were not executed. And we raised questions, and they actually had that against us. So when we started assessing Ambode's government, we discovered that it won't pay you unless you have shown competence that you are going to execute that project. And that was what seemed to make him to achieve as much as he did during that short stay in office. Now, there are certain elements who are either neophytes or outright ignorance of the job they wanted to take from him. And his own principle, according to those who are close to him that we interviewed, that you should be able to show capacity to execute. And it's not going to pay you unless you have...
Okay. Mr. Adeniran, I want to come in here. I mean, it's not a vote on confidence on the second term of Akinwunmi Ambode. It's a question about what happened in Ekpe. Corruption allegation. I mean, it's not a case of the jobs he did, the things he didn't do.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this. I mean, look at the process at which this was done. The EFCC came out to say that they had to investigate him.
Yeah.
And they went to his residence in Ekpe. There were also allegations that they went to his residence in Ikoyi.
Yeah.
What played out in Ekpe that led to a certain level of skirmish? Was it necessary? What are the cases they have against him? With your work in Kakol, what have you seen? There's been talk in the public space.
What we have seen, I actually started from there that it is the solidarity of those that he has served well, and that if we speak in his favor, is because we also believe that he has performed better than what we witnessed earlier. But then we learned of the 9.9 billion Lagos State government accounts. And we also investigated on our own. We interviewed a couple of people who should know. We understood that the account has been there since 1999, and that there's no governor or government that came into power that didn't use that account. It seems that that is the account where the fabled, security vote, passes through. And, this hitherto, nobody, checks on such accounts. And one will not know, because nobody is above the law, actually. We are not saying that if any corruption issues is developed against, the former governor, that it should not be, investigated and even brought before justice. But then it should not be seen to be
Let's
a
go
witch
back
hunt.
to you're talking about that account. You've not
Yes.
landed on that. So tell me the dynamics of
that
that account.
account, we were told that it is the account of Lagos State government. It is not personal account to the former governor or anybody in that government. And that because it has to be operated by the same people in government, that must be the reason why some of his lieutenants were seen to have been running the account. Now, if the account... Yeah.
So sorry to cut you
No
off.
problem.
So do you think this EFCC raid or search on his residence is connected to this 9.9 billion accounts, or is there an unrelated issue that they're investigating?
The reason why we believe that it has to connect with it is because that is the only corruption allegation that have been leveled against the former governor. And we don't have anything against that if on reasonable ground they have reasons to believe that maybe the cash is stacked in that house, just like they found in the Koyito, Osborne Towers, or Falomon shopping complex and the rest of them. They could raid the place. They can break it down if they refuse to open the place. But then they have to have, reasonable reasons to do that. Unfortunately, Ekpe youths might be too zealous to protect one of their own. That might be the reason. But we were told that they actually penetrated the premises and they did the search. And if you go by the account of the young lawyers, they said that they insisted that they needed to witness the search, and they actually searched the searchers before they started the operation. And at the end of the day, they couldn't find anything incriminating in that house, except a stack of files. Okay? And those stack of files, we wouldn't know if they suspected that it contains documents that could, but they could have checked it and find out the content of those files, so that if the files contain secret documents, they will have been able to tell the world what they have found in that house. But if there's no incident, then it's only normal that people will think that there was a malice, that it was maliciously done. Okay. And we believe that EFCC, as an anti-corruption agency, shouldn't have allowed itself to be used. Of course, they need to investigate all petitions that are sent to them. But the initial, yes.
We'll come back after this quick break and talk about if it's a malice or a malfeasance, as it were, in the public space. But from what I can deduce from what you're saying now is, obviously some people are after Akinwunmi Ambode. Who are those people? We're going to talk more about those people, and we're going to come back and talk about anti-corruption fight in general. We'll take a quick breather, and we'll come back and we'll talk some more. Still the morning show here on the Rise News. Right, still the morning show here on the Rise News, and we still have with us Debo Adeniran, the chairman of the Center for Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership. And we're talking about the case and the EFCC raid on the apartment on the residence, I should say, of Akinwunmi Ambode, the former governor of Lagos. I did ask a question before we segue to that break. Who are the people after him? Because apparently you keep saying the people after him, the people after him. Let's talk about those people. Let's also talk about your concerns as regards some of the projects done in this his administration thus far.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, talking about the people that could have been, we are also speculating. We didn't know that anybody was against him until when electioneering campaign started. when the primaries of his party started, because everybody, in fact, most Lagosians thought that it's going to be walkover for Akinwunmi based on what they have assessed on the ground. Okay, but when things started happening, we were wondering what could have happened. Then we saw that certain people who were operating, who were contractors for Lawma, that was changed to Visionscape, and that they lost maybe their contract or whatever, were all out to campaign against him. Then we also learned, we didn't have evidence for that, that there are certain politicians who thought that they didn't have fair share of the contracts that he awarded in Lagos State. All of these are speculations, but it could be true. Because then some people say that he didn't reach out to the politicians. They claim that they campaigned for him, that they spent their resources to get him to power. But he didn't take care of them, take care in quote, when he got to power. Some people say that he was arrogant, that when they got there, they wanted to discuss with him. You will always find excuses why he was not going to see them. And those who supported him said that most of these people wanted to impose one thing or the other on him, and that he was not going to budge. Okay, if these are the allegations, it is easy for us then to conclude that some politicians who were not given the unfettered access to state covers may want to get back at him through this political, maybe witch hunt. We hardly use witch hunt in Kakol because we believe that if you are not a witch, you cannot be hunted. But then there are occasions when innocents have been taken as witches and they are lynched. No, we do not also subscribe to that. If we believe that somebody is performing well, we want you to acknowledge it. First and foremost, then you can bring out the areas of his inadequacies. If he deserves punishment, the whole world will see that, investigation has been carried out with due diligence, and that the law book says that this is the punishment.
The grounds on those projects, let's talk about those projects. You said Kakol had the grounds as regards the way projects were brought out and estimations for projects?
Exactly. You see, when we had some problem with the predecessor, with the earlier government before Ambode, when we raised the question that what was the cost of the plants, the ornamental plants that were being planted in all over Lagos, they didn't give us that record, that distance. Then we questioned the need for the aesthetics when people are hungry. That we are saying that the concept of megacity is not about how beautiful the city is. It's how much structures and infrastructures that could accommodate the mega population. Because any city-state with more than 10 million people is already a mega city. The responsive government should just expand whatever facilities there are to accommodate the mega population, not to depopulate. Now, so this is why we raise the question that what is our priority? Now, when Ambode also started executing projects, we ask for invoices. That's how much are you actually paying for all of this? They promised. The previous government also promised. As a matter of fact, the previous government told us that Freedom of Information Act was not operational in Lagos State. Okay, that we should go to court if you are not satisfied.
So, sorry, did Ambode's administration provide those invoices?
They didn't provide it. That is the only grounds we have with it. That, okay, we couldn't lay our hand on it because we wanted to publish it in our book. What we had in the previous government, we advertised it in the newspaper that these are contracts that have been given out from which money had been paid, and those contracts were not executed. We published it in one of our books. that's exactly what we wanted to do during the Ambode. We even advertised on our website that if anybody had information about malfeasance in government, okay, you should give it to us, that we don't just want to look at the positive side, we want to look at the negative side. Even this 9.9 billion thing that was brought into the media recently, we didn't get it. Nobody told us. We invited government functionary, we invited local government, we invited CDAs, we have invited everybody, that we needed information about this government so that we wouldn't have been lopsided in our assessment. Nobody came up with anything.
Okay, so I'm happy we're talking about this now, because this brings up the issue of transparency in governance. Yeah. So looking at the Buhari-led administration, their 2015 campaign was aggressively on the cardinal point of fighting against corruption.
That's right. So
how would you rate the strategies that have been employed by this administration to achieve this goal, to fight corruption?
Well, thank you very much. The problem of the administration fighting corruption is not about strategy or tactics, because their strategies could have worked out. One, the instruments that will make corruption crimes difficult to commit has been operationalized by the present administration, federal government. That is something like TSA. TSA will harmonize all the bank accounts you have. Okay, I mean BVN will harmonize all bank accounts an individual has.
Matter of fact, TSA harmonize all the bank accounts.
So TSA also made it difficult for MDAs to open frivolous accounts on their own. Hitherto, as a staff of this station, you could have opened, because you have access to the document, you open an account and people will be paying, for adverts into it, and the management will not know. That was what's going on before Buhari administration. But with the operationalization of all of these instruments, including FRC, and that is financial regulatory control, and Act 2, anti-corruption and transparent units, that is resident with ICPC. Then you have NFIU, which has been taken from EFCC to Central Bank now. Several instruments like that, including SCUMOL, because every corporate organization will have to register with SCUMOL before you are able to operate. So even the NGOs, all of us have to register with SCUMOL, so that that is special control on money laundering, so that they will not use all of it, because hitherto it is something like NGOs, professionals like accountants, lawyers, and all that are used to launder money, but it becomes difficult, if not impossible, for anybody to do that now. The same thing with the issue of TSA. You cannot have any government account elsewhere. So all income is directed to the Treasury single account. The same thing with BVN. Any amount of money you have will be open through the BVN. So basically, those instruments are working. Then the whistleblowers policy also helped in discovering so many things, because the administration has made it difficult for people to launder money. That is why you saw abandonment of money here and there.
But I'd like to take you on this and quickly mention two names to you, because in this anti-corruption fight by the Buhari administration, Obono Obla comes to mind.
Exactly.
We had always known this case long ago about Obono Obla not even allegations of not having the prerequisite certificate. What did you do regarding that? There was another case. Danjuma Goje, Senator, vied for a position, had a case with EFCC. All of a sudden, a newly prosecuted was brought on that case. This last administration that went by, Communications Minister Shitu, that didn't do NYSC. Yes. Should I continue?
Yes, continue.
I should continue?
No, don't continue.
Okay.
I will help you.
What's your take on all of this?
I will help you. One thing you should know is that there is no anti-corruption agency that can detect corruption crimes once in one first swoop, that will investigate all of these corruption crimes in one first swoop, that can charge it to court and prosecute the case once. Since a very long time ago, there have been corruption cases that are pending with ACAs, anti-corruption agencies. and they needed to move from one level to the other. People were saying that there should be due diligence investigation. If they didn't do due diligence, they are not going to get, winnable cases against the accused persons. Remember, corruption crimes are not committed in front of cameras. They always have covert means of doing their things. So to get the investigation done, it takes a long time sometimes, especially in our environment where you have inadequate equipment, inadequate personnel, inadequate motivation, inadequate training. Okay, so it takes a longer time. But then the thing is that these ACAs are not resting on their own. You mentioned Obono Obla. Obono Obla has been asked to step aside for now, and he's being handed over to. It's just like Babachar Lawal has also been handed over. Several people working. Oyo Ita is still on it. Kemi Adeosun has been asked to go. These are people who made this administration thick. Hitherto. But then they have been asked to step aside because of this. We also have problem with those ministers that have been, selected, who still have corruption cases on their neck. Timipre Silva, Apabio, and the rest of them.
One thing is said, Mr. Debo Adeniran, we'll definitely bring you here to come and talk about those cases again. I mean, Timipre Silva, you mentioned, is now the Minister of State for Petroleum, but it's a joy having you. It's been wonderful talking to you. Thank you so much for your time.